Okay guys, for sake of this demonstration, I'm using two 1/4 20 flathead screws. And I'm using a flathead screw because it has a lot more engagement underneath the head than a cap screw does. We're just going to show you that the 20 TPI hole here is actually threaded. There's no magic or voodoo going on. I'm going to screw the block down to the surface of the part. Now if you see little black lines on this top block, it's because when I take the screw heads out, I'm going to draw some lines on the screw head so that you can see what happens to the head when I start to machine on it. You can't always trust the broached feature or the screwdriver drive feature to be true to the head, but you can count pretty much on the head being true to the threads. So now that that's securely locked in there, I'm going to put some index marks on here just to show you when it's machined what goes on. I'm going to grab a drill blank, gauge pin, whatever, and I'm going to line up the hole until the pin covers the head of the screw. Concentricity here is a pretty important part of this technique. I know somebody's going to say, why don't you grab a punch and try to back it out? Let's just assume that you tried that and it didn't work. Knowing that it's a 1/4 20 screw, it's a 250 OD on the thread. So I'm going to use a 265 drill, which is a little bit bigger than the thread going through the block. And I'm going to wipe that hex out. Now at this point in time, you would really be out of luck because there is no way to get this out. But I'm going to continue through with this drill until the head of that screw starts to spin. Keep your eye on the index marks on the head of that screw, and the head of the screw is going to cling to the drill and come right off with the drill. As promised, the head of that screw is now clinging to the bottom of the drill. Without squeezing very hard and against the rotation of the grind of the drill, grab a hold of that head and take it off. And don't throw it away just yet. I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't throw it away. In case you hadn't noticed, the machine is nice and quiet. It's not clanking around as bad as it was. Still making a little noise, but not too bad. Those plastic bushings that I installed a couple of weeks ago are really paying off in sanity. Alright, I'm just going to cover up the head of the second screw. Get as close as I believe I can. Screw out, drill in. This will work equally as well with the cap screw, so just because I'm using a flathead, that doesn't mean that's restricted to just a flathead. Now if the universe is on my side this morning, this block should just lift clear, which it does. And you know, if you've ever tried to get out a screw that's been stripped and it's flush to the surface of whatever you're working on, you always say, well, it sure would be nice if there was something sticking out. Well, now that it is sticking out, you can put vice grips on it, you can put pliers, heat it up, whatever you need to do, and there you go. Two screws successfully removed by disconnecting the head from the screw. Now about that little head part that came off, what you have is an 82-degree beveled washer that if for any reason you ever wanted to stick it on a regular cap screw. You could use that regular cap screw in a countersunk hole. So don't throw them away. Stick them in your box sometime, and you never know. Someday you might need it and say, well, you know, I'd really rather not make one. But hey, guess what? Got one hanging in the box. So there you go. Cut the head off the screw. Drill down through it with a drill slightly larger than the thread OD. Separate the parts that you need to separate. Expose the stud, and away you go. Put that one in your box, guys. That's all I got for you. Alright guys, well I think that you'll find quite often that it's the head of the screw that seizes and not the body of the screw. Usually the head of the screw will seal the hole off, and if there's any contaminants that are trying to bombard the threads, it usually stops at the base of the screw. So if you can release the head on the screw, then you have at least an exposed stud to work with like you just saw, and it certainly gives you an advantage over a screw that's broken off flush. And if anybody ever brings you a screw that's broken off flush and they've already hacked it with a wood chisel or got a gopher to chew on it or whatever they tried to do to get it out, and it's all bugged up, you might want to just say, you know what, there's the door, because the best way to take one of those out is to not mess with it at all. Just give it to somebody that's got some experience with it. All right, in closing, another shout out to This Old Tony. You know, when I subscribe to a channel, something about that channel has to speak to me or reach out, or I have to be able to relate to it. And not only has this guy got amazing editing skills, but his humor is there and his material's good. And I recently watched a video of his where he made his son a sword. Now, only an awesome human being would make a sword for their small child. So he got my subscription. Go check him out. This Old Tony, its icon is a little guy with, I guess it is Little Old Tony. Headphones on, some great glasses. Anyway, go check them out. Good material. That's all I got for you guys. Joe Pazinski, Advanced Innovations, Austin, Texas. I'm out.